We had some technical difficulties here, didn't we?
We're sat very close today.
Yep. It's,
almost within kissing distance.
Yep. Why have you got mistletoe up there?
Missile toes.
Yeah.
Talking about missile toes, you ran over my toe earlier with your chair and it still hurts.
Well, you did leave your toe under the wheel of the chair.
I'm not going to leave my toes around there anymore.
Everything's perfect on the podcast, except for the fact that one little fixture inside of the wire, the HDMI wire, just decided to come apart into about 4 different pieces.
One little fixture.
So the cameras are perfect, but the wire itself, and it's too late to get one at short notice. We've got the Golden Goose again. So there you go. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate.
What's the name of this pod? It's podcast 7.
Festive foul play.
Festive foul play, and that is in reference to a few different foul play things.
Yeah, we've got a few little subjects that pop up which suggest a bit of foul play.
But fowl is also the name for
poultry,
which is a name for
a
birds.
Goose. Yeah.
Or a goose, which is a bird.
A very beautiful bird.
I've got this white claw, and there'll be some people that know what white claw is, but you said that you don't know what it is. It's quite a new brand to the UK, but it's been around in America for a lot of years.
Okay.
And it's a hard seltzer, but it's seltzer. It's known as like a little bit of a white trash brand.
Okay, yeah.
Like people drink it, it's just like almost like white cider in the UK, but it tastes really nice. And it's a little bit more healthy than normal alcohol that you'd get because it's just like
low calories.
Low calories, yeah, exactly. Gluten-free, low cal, 95 calories per can, 4.5% alcohol.
Would you know what a hard seltzer was if you hadn't bought this?
No.
No, me neither.
No. So we'll try some of these out. And one of the reasons I wanted to have these, other than the fact that they're actually not bad, they're quite nice. And they're a little bit healthier, is because Elon Musk was in an interview recently, a few days ago, and he was drinking one of these, and right in the middle of the interview, he just went, "Can I just stop you there? I need to advertise." It's like, "I need to advertise White Claw," and everyone started laughing, and obviously it was completely unofficial. It's like, this is the best drink you will ever drink.
Oh my God.
And obviously, because he's like the richest guy in the world drinking this white trash fucking drink, it was quite ironic.
Good lad.
He's paid $11 billion in taxes now. That's
Good on him. He should be proud.
He should be proud. Yeah. So welcome to episode 7. Christmas special.
Festive spesh.
Yeah, got a lot to pack into today's podcast. We are live on Twitch right now. We're live every 2 weeks. And we will be publishing this to YouTube if you want to watch it on video, a cut down version. We'll also be publishing it to Audible, to Spotify, to iTunes, to all the things.
Anywhere you can imagine a podcast to be played, it'll be on there.
Yep, because we're pro. What have we got coming up today, mate?
We've got the usual top shelf, which will be you providing a bottle of alcohol, which I'm looking forward to. Headliner, again, that's you, where you're going to choose some random headlines and we'll go into one of them in a bit more detail. The last 2 headliners have been great, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah,
hopefully
they've been highlights of the podcast.
Yeah.
It's becoming an absolute firm favourite, isn't it, that segment?
Certainly is with us. Over the past fortnight, we'll have a look at some of the news that's happened, sport and politics and other rubbish. Then it'll be over to me for some Goose News and pork scratchings, and then we'll look at what's coming up between now and our next podcast.
Got a lot of current affairs, a little bit of politics and sports, but there's a few other random topics.
Sometimes you can go a little bit too much into some subjects, can't you? Like slagging off the Conservatives or COVID, you know. It just gets a little bit too much.
It's easy to fall into that trap, isn't it? That's the problem. So yeah, what have you been up to last couple of weeks, mate?
Well, I had my work Christmas dinner, so only about 50%. In fact, no, 50% of the team said they would come, and then 2 dropped out on the day, so less than 50% turnout.
Right.
Which is fair enough, given the circumstances.
Wait, can I just stop you for a second? There's a button here that says press here.
Go on then.
Anyone that's listening on Spotify right now, or Deezer, or Audible, or whatever,
it's worth logging into YouTube just to watch this section.
And subscribing and following on Twitch and Twitter and all that. But he's wearing a Santa hat. I'm going to turn it off. It's too noisy.
I don't think you can. Oh, you can?
Yeah. There's a button on the hat, and the Santa hat waggles from side to side, and the eyes glow and everything, and it plays a little song. That's
decent,
brilliant.
isn't it?
Oh, I'm in the Christmas spirit now. Gee, well spotted. It's on your head there, right in front of me.
I was going to press it randomly halfway through the podcast. Less than half turnout for the Christmas meal. We went for a curry. There was a Conservative MP called Esther McVeigh on the table next to us. It wasn't me that spotted it first. One of my colleagues was like, that Conservative MP for, I think she's from Knutsford, which is like posh part of Cheshire, not far from here. The only thing she's really famous for is for tweeting, slagging off the Labour Party in the middle of a Hillsborough disaster memorial service, and she's from Liverpool. So that was seen as pretty bad taste. Labour Party in the following, like, whenever they went to the House of Commons next, absolutely laid into her and asked her to resign and all that sort of stuff. Of course, being a Tory, she's got no shame and didn't resign. But I think that's all she's pretty much famous for, really.
So my takeaway from that is that you like to frequent the same places that Tories go to.
Yeah, it seems that way, doesn't it? Yeah. Well, I've also went to a cafe a few weeks ago where Rashford was, and I doubt he's well, he could be a Tory.
So you know. I actually went to that same one.
Juniper,
yeah. It's so much nicer, the one in Wilmslow, than the one in Bramall.
Well, the one in Bramall, they've just closed it and refurbed it, and it's recently just opened.
Oh,
and now it looks like the Wilmslow one.
Oh my God, it's so nice, so posh. The thing is, we walked in and we didn't realise how posh it was going to be. We thought we were just going for like a little brunch. Yeah, it looked really posh inside. Everyone was really well dressed, and me and my wife just walked in like just finished doing a bit of shopping, kind of a bit tired, a bit.
You've got to be well dressed to go anywhere in Wilmslow, to be fair.
Fucking yeah. The thing is, it almost came across as like arrogance on Gemma's part, because you know she was almost like she looked more rich because she'd not made the effort.
Yeah.
And she was embarrassed, but I was like, you kind of fit the part. It's like you just turned up and you don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
I've got some big news.
Have you?
I do. I mean, you know it already, but act surprised.
Go on then, tell me.
My wife's pregnant. I know, she's pregnant.
Way.
She's pregnant. We're having a baby. So we had a 12-week scan a week ago, 2 weeks ago. We're about 13, 14 weeks.
Yeah, I could have guessed that from the maths.
We don't know the sex yet, the gender.
Okay.
We'll be getting into a bit of that into the podcast about gender.
Gender fluid.
Like fluidness, yeah. I got a little baby grow just to do the announcement.
Machine B.
Machine baby. We haven't done the intros, by the way.
So, who are you, by the way? Sorry.
I'm MachineDaena, podcast extraordinaire.
Soon to be father.
Successful father, hopefully.
I am your father.
I will be.
Machine B. I'm Salmon, Coronation Street extra, Goose fan, and also a father to Dana's other child.
Can you show us your jumper for this week?
Coronation Street fan. I'll have to move the old mic.
Yeah. Gail Platt. Her hair does freak me out a little bit. In that one, she kind of looks like E.T. as well, doesn't she?
Yeah. She looks a bit like E.T. or like a turtle head.
Turtleneck and blazer.
Yeah, she'd be great in that. She's also an absolute legend. So
big news, baby, on the way. So that's going to be interesting. I'm going to be taking tips off you because you've already got a 1-year-old, haven't you?
Yeah, I wouldn't really be taking tips off me, mate. But
why not?
Well, learn from my mistakes, maybe. Let's just say our baby's fallen off his changing mat twice in the nearly 1 year he's been alive.
I saw a TikTok the other day and I found it funny and I just wanted to mention it because I just thought you'd be interested to know.
Yeah.
Do you know Love Actually? Have you seen the film?
Yeah.
And you know there's that scene where the guy comes to the door, he knocks on the door and he's got the cards.
Oh, yeah.
And he's basically announcing to his friend's wife that he loves her.
Yeah.
And it's like, what would have happened if it was the husband that answered the door? He's like, oh, is your wife in? And he's like, she's busy at the moment.
Yeah.
And yeah, I won't do it justice, but it's basically him trying to explain these cards and the reason why he's got this like Christmas music on. Just say it's carol singers. Were you going online? Say it was carol singers? No. And then he presses the buttons. It's carol singers. Top shelf this week. We got the lovely top shelf emblem, of course, and then there's a question mark on there because we don't know what it is. And then we always do the
Eggy.
Now,
Nog.
You probably know why we've chosen this.
No.
Neither of us have ever tried it before.
I have tried, actually.
You said that you didn't.
Yeah, I was lying.
Oh,
no, I'm only joking. I'm really trying.
Good job I've got a backup, isn't it?
I haven't tried it. I'm joking.
The problem is, we did Google it whilst we was in Tesco's buying this.
So you know what it is?
Sort of, but the thing that came up, and I'll read it out, is Advocaat Eggnog. Eggnog, made from uncooked eggs and brandy. It's tricky to make. Advocaat is a Dutch version of eggnog.
Oh, right.
Which is soon after the English eggnog experience causes some reflex gagging. And I was reading that, I was thinking, do I need to buy this or not? So I looked at Tia Maria and I looked at a few other things. I just thought, well, neither of us have tried it, and it could be funny if we do kind of gag. And yeah. So in the end, I've gone for comedy over taste.
Yeah, I'd always go for that. I love the little warning on the back. Contains barn eggs.
Yeah.
Once opened, keep refrigerated.
Does it matter that it's a barn egg over like a... Oh my God. Yeah, you need to shake well before use. Later research reveals the grotesque fact that the Dutch also have a thick version of Advocaat, which they eat with a spoon.
Ooh, is it not just like custard?
It looks horrible. I don't even know how he's supposed to drink this. So I've got 2 shot glasses, as per tradition.
Do not drink in shot format, it says.
It's funny because it's supposed to be
Sniff
like a
test.
Christmas drink, isn't it? Let's have a little.
Smells a bit sweet and alcohol-y.
Oh, you can smell the brandy. I nearly got some sherry, but the sherry looked a little bit cheap, so I thought, nah.
Produce of Holland, 17.2% Advocaat original from Warninks.
It literally just looks like a bottle full of custard. You can't even get eggnog in the bars, can you? I've never seen it in a bar.
Me neither, no.
Oh god, it looks
Never
horrible.
looked for it. It does look horrible, doesn't it?
Well, apparently there's some yolk-related content coming later in the podcast.
Oh, there is, yeah.
So
we'll get into that. Maybe we'll make some eggnog out of whatever I'm going to talk about.
Right. We've got eggnog. Cheers, mate.
Cheers, you rank B. Oh, I like it. Oh, I really like it.
It's sort of like shit Baileys. Oh, it's got an alright aftertaste, actually.
I'd say it's like an alcoholic custard.
It kind of is, isn't it? It's not bad, that, actually. That's way better than I thought it was going to be.
I'm a fan of that. I might actually casually drink some throughout the show.
Serious?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Good effort.
Eggs got protein as well, haven't they, as well? So
It does.
I'll
So you
instantly
basically
turn into a
building lean muscle, mate.
Gale. Strong Gales.
Gale. E.T. Gale. Straight onto the headliner.
Headline.
Man, we're today. I've not done any research, so I'm just gonna.
Typical.
Yeah, typical.
Standard.
I mean, it's worked in the past, so
Yeah.
I might go for images. Should we go for images again, Maverick?
You go for it, mate.
This time I might go for funny Australian headlines.
Okay. Nanja Fleet is full of them.
Exactly.
I've researched that. I think she's only done one funny article and she peaked.
This top one from BuzzFeed is most ridiculous Aussie news headlines.
Okay.
I'm going to be disappointed. And this is 2021 as well, September. Okay. Australian man screaming at spider, "Why don't you die?" triggers full police response.
That basically tells you the full story, doesn't it? You don't need to click on that.
Yeah, kind of. Police search for motorised picnic table drivers seen travelling through Perth's Scarborough Beach area.
Nice.
And the final one, drunk motorcyclist caught at 173 kilometres per hour during peak school time on busy road. Dead set dickhead.
That's just a fact, isn't it? So can you click on them for further information?
I think so. Or re-Google them.
Okay, let's try the top one.
The top one. You want to go for the spider one?
I think so. I quite like the motorised picnic table as well, though.
Right, so this is from ABC News. Police search for motorised picnic table drivers seen travelling through Perth's Scarborough Beach area. A group of men caught driving motorised picnic tables along
more than one. That's good. Good lads.
along the roads of the Scarborough Beach area failed to amuse Western Australia police. Photos and video footage of the 9 men driving through Scarborough Beach Road through the West Coast Highway intersection have gone viral on social media, with police putting out a call on Facebook requesting help to identify those involved. Quote, police are concerned for the safety of the... The video's just appeared.
That's quality.
I'll put up a proper version of this video for the edit, but that's the video. There's just...
Legitimate things do exist like that, though, don't they? Like in London, you can get like a little bar on wheels, and I think you pedal.
Yeah, you pedal, and it's like you can have a beer while you're driving through the streets of London.
Motorised picnic tables, though. That is quality. Yeah. Good lads.
So that was that. That was a bit different. Oh, you've poured us another shot, have you? Eggnog.
Yeah, I'm just sipping on mine. I'm enjoying it. I'm not shotting it. I'm just having a little...
Well, I am. It's making me gag, that.
I'm all right with it. Since our last podcast, the Tory ship has continued to sink. There's been a steady drip feed of photographs of various Tories having Christmas parties or parties during lockdown when everyone else wasn't allowed to go and see their dying relatives.
So
blah, blah, blah.
we broke this story internationally, didn't we?
We were the first in the world to break it. Yeah,
and the Tories having a party. It's like everyone knows about it now because everyone's obviously jumped on the bandwagon. But there's been more and more detail about it, really, hasn't there? And Boris has been doing it as well, hasn't he?
Yeah, of course he has. So there was a photo taken of the back garden of 10 Downing Street, which is where the Prime Minister lives. And they've got him sat around a table with 3 other people all chatting away. Oh, his wife's there as well. So if it's a business meeting with a baby, why is she there?
Why has he got wine on the table?
Yeah, exactly.
Was it like cheese
and wine? Yeah. Is it really a party if it's just cheese and wine, you know, or is it really a business meeting if you're having cheese and wine?
It's a shit party if it's just cheese and wine.
Yeah.
You need at least midgets and strippers, don't you?
Of course, yeah.
For a real party.
And then elsewhere in the garden, you got larger groups of people, like 6, 7 or 8 people all stood in a circle, not socially distancing, all that sort of stuff. So there's something going on there where there's a lot of people, none of them socially distancing, all Conservative Party members, and none of them giving a shit about the laws, that they're the ones that introduced the laws that everybody else has to follow. So it's not working out too well for them.
I'm pretty much party agnostic. I'd happily vote Tories, Labour, Lib Dems if it made sense on any given year. Mm-hmm. But this time I really feel like the public is probably not going to be getting behind the Tories. However, I did think that last time.
Yeah.
And it was like an increase.
Landslide. Yeah.
It was an absolute landslide. Yeah. So the British public is kind of dumb. There's been an indicator recently that maybe they might be in trouble, the Tories.
So one of the other scandals that happened was Owen Paterson, who was caught out receiving £100,000 a year from a company called Randox, who also happened to get, like, if not the biggest, one of the biggest COVID-19 test contracts from the government without any tendering process. So he was caught out getting this little side income and tried to hide it. If he'd just admitted to it and apologised, he would have got like a 12-day suspension from the Commons. But Boris Johnson tried to get the whole party to cover up the actions. And actually, when the Standards Committee were about to meet and produce a report on what had happened, the Tories decided to introduce a new bill, which would have basically meant that the Standards Committee report would have been useless. They would have introduced a new Standards Committee with more Tory members on it than any other party, basically trying to fix the whole situation. They lost that vote. Owen Paterson then was forced to resign from his position, and as a result there was a by-election for North Shropshire, which has been a Conservative
200 years.
Just under 200 years there. It's been Conservative for all of that time. So from a Conservative point of view, you think, well, if he resigns, whoever takes his place is going to get the seat anyway. It's nothing to worry about. Yeah,
it's a gimme, isn't it? It's
like, if not, it's probably the safest seat in the whole country for Conservatives.
It was a big swing, wasn't it? Is it something like they had something last time, a 26,000 majority, which is a lot for one county in the UK. And was it a minus? They lost out plus a minus 8,000 or something like that.
Yeah, I can't remember the figures on it, but it was. I think it's like the 7th biggest ever swing in a local election.
It's a huge swing. Yeah.
And so they lost, and the Lib Dems won it, and which is quite interesting because the Lib Dems have always finished third in that seat, like for the last 200 years or whatever it's been. There seems to have been some sort of like party agreement between Labour and Lib Dems to decide who is most likely to help the Tories lose that seat. And I think the conclusion they came to was more Tory voters are probably going to be happier voting for Lib Dems than they are for Labour. Labour kind of unofficially stepped aside. Apparently, historically, what happens is, let's say in this example, Labour are stepping aside. A Labour senior party figure who's far enough away from Keir Starmer to not be receiving instructions directly from Keir Starmer will come out and say, there's no point competing for this seat because Lib Dems are going to win it. You know, we've got no chance. And then therefore, all the Labour voters in that area think, okay, well, I'll vote Lib Dem then. But then also at the same time, Keir Starmer can't be criticised for instructing his party to stand aside. So that seems to have been what happened. Labour have unofficially stood aside, lent all of their votes to Lib Dems, and
I'd happily vote Tories in the future if they were different to how they are now. But fundamentally, they lie. They are corrupt. They're trying to introduce bills that reduce the validity of democracy. Mm-hmm. They have had so many scandals, so many double standards, broken so many rules. Yeah. Anyone in their right mind will not be voting Tories this time around because you are voting for... It's not really about economics at this point. I feel like if you're voting for Tories, you're voting for a corrupt government. And I think people know that they're voting for a corrupt government. Yeah. So if you are voting Tories this time around, it seems as though you are purely doing it for your own benefit.
Yeah, absolutely. Either that or you're still convinced that whoever is opposing them is even worse.
It's even worse,
I don't see how that argument can stand up after 10 years of this government. You know, a lot changes to the opposition. So you can't always look back and say, yeah, but the opposition are even worse, because no one knows.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how that pans out. When's the next general election? Is it 2024?
I think it is, something like that. Yeah, I think that sounds right.
I immediately got to thinking, well, I wonder what tactics that they're going to employ to try and detract people and try and
Yeah.
because last time they were quite fortunate, I thought, because they had Corbyn in
exactly.
place.
Yeah.
So and he was like a, if you're
he was an easy
right wing or
target
even
for the media,
central,
yeah,
quite easy to not like because he's sort of extreme left.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, what else are they going to come up with? What else is going to?
Yeah.
Because they'll have tactics. Last time obviously it was Brexit, Corbyn.
Yeah.
What's going to be the thing in 2 years? They can't come out and say they've dealt with COVID particularly well because I think that's been a bit of a disaster.
Yeah,
other than the vaccine rollout.
The only criticism they've been able to really lay at Keir Starmer is that he's they call him Captain Hindsight. He's
Sounds like a cool name to me.
He's been fairly consistent in supporting lockdowns and just following the scientific advice. So whereas the Tories have been a little bit on the edge because they've got a strong part, over 100 members of the Tory party are very anti-lockdown. So Boris Johnson's kind of caught between the scientific advice of lockdown, wear masks, be really strict about it, and then this huge portion of his party that are saying, this is ridiculous, it's getting out of control, we need to get on with life. So he's trying to balance.
There's a bit of a tidal wave in the Tory party at the moment. I think there's a lot of people that want to speak up that aren't, that probably will.
Yeah. And also, on that note, part of the side effects of having such a huge majority in Parliament is that you've got a lot of MPs who historically have not been MPs. They're quite young, new MPs. And when they're looking at the future of their career, they're thinking, I just need to follow the party line here. For the benefit of my own career, I'll just vote the way Boris Johnson tells me to.
That isn't democracy.
No, it's not. And I think you'll find a lot of the people who are criticising the lockdowns and anti-mask and anti-lockdown, they tend to be the older ones who have got a bit more confidence and they've got a bit less to lose in terms of their career.
They've already made their money.
Yeah, exactly. They've got all of their contracts and things from their little positions. So
be interesting to see what happened. We also had in the last couple of weeks, we had a very controversial F1 result. So Lewis Hamilton was, I think, equal or thereabouts points.
They were dead equal going into the last race.
Max Verstappen, Abu Dhabi, and that was because of a 10-point deduction in the race before. Basically was the most anticipated race and sort of end to an F1 championship in recent memory, but certainly in the last 10, 15 years. Right? Yeah. And the fact that Lewis Hamilton's dominated F1 so much, and there's this new, younger, kind of like regarded as a fairly dangerous driver, Max Verstappen.
On the edge.
Which I like. I think it brings a bit more excitement to it.
Yeah.
I know some people don't, but also, Lewis Hamilton in the past has been regarded as a little bit like that. He's changed it a bit more conservative driver now, but he used to be.
Yeah.
So really, really interesting. And it's the first time I've watched an F1 race for a year or two, I would say. And I've really enjoyed it. It was on Channel 4, so Sky gave the rights to Channel 4. It was a gimme for Lewis Hamilton because he got off to a great start from second on the grid.
Yeah.
He led the whole race, and I mean the whole race.
Right.
I think he was something like 20 or 15 points seconds ahead, which is enough to pretty much get another pit stop in as well.
Yeah.
So he was in really safe space. But Lewis Hamilton had these special hard tyres on that pretty much lasted the whole race, or he needed one pit stop. Whereas Max Verstappen, he pitted like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah.
Anyway, long story short, they took a lot of risks. Verstappen's team took a lot of risks with his pit stopping, and the only thing that was going to save it for him, because he was so far behind in the race, was a stoppage or a yellow flag or a red flag. There was an accident. It was actually Mick Schumacher's son. Yeah. Was jostling with another driver who then subsequently crashed into the side. Of course, Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher are on 7 championships each, so people are sort of conspiring to say that he's done it on purpose. Obviously, he didn't, but it's quite a good way that it's kind of ended and it's kept it open. So Lewis Hamilton didn't get his 8th, and there was a lot of controversy because what was supposed to happen, according to the rules, when there's a safety car, they let every car past that has already been lapped. So they don't interfere with the jostling in the moment. Because obviously they all bunch up together. Or they let none of them pass. So it's like a really consistent rule. Well, what they did, so there was Lewis Hamilton and then there were 4 drivers behind him that had been lapped. Which means that in 6th place, Max Verstappen would have had to jostle past those 4 to get to Lewis Hamilton. But this was like 2 or 3 laps from the end. He would not have been able to get past them and get in front of Lewis Hamilton, right? But Lewis Hamilton's tyres were starting to get tired, and Max had fresh tyres on, so that kind of closed the gap a little bit. They let the 4 cars go behind Lewis Hamilton, so it closed the gap. So Max Verstappen was right behind him with like a 1-second gap instead of a 15-second gap. And of course, he just ran away with it. Pretty much the first or second corner, he got in front of him and ran away with it. But they didn't let the other cars that were further behind and already lapped go in front. Now, the reason why that's important is because by the time they would have actually got in front, they'd have been on the last lap and they'd have finished on a yellow flag. So it would have just finished however they were.
Right, okay.
The officials basically allowed it to go because they wanted to not finish on a yellow flag.
So they wanted a proper race on the last lap,
So I get it from a fan's point of view, but they're basically breaking the rules to allow that to happen. And Verstappen was pronounced the winner.
Well, the scorebook won't tell any stories, will it? It'll just tell who's the winner.
The history books.
Yeah, the history books.
Yeah. I think Lewis will probably win it next year. I don't think he'll take no chances. I think he wants to go down as a legend, and unless he's got the most championships, he won't.
I do wonder if his motivation dips after so many wins, and he needs something like that to spur him on again.
Yeah.
But as a non-F1 fan, and seeing how people absolutely love Lewis Hamilton, even though he wins every year, I was so happy to see all that happen. And because I only turned it on right near the end and I saw that crash, and I thought it was hilarious. Like, it was an absolute nobody crashing out of the race who could have just been driving around 5 miles an hour for the rest of the lap and no one would have cared.
And
he just happens to like be competing for a random place that no one cares about and spins off
and ruined the whole
race. Ruins the whole season for Lewis Hamilton.
For the neutral, it was so good because Lewis Hamilton, he was behind, quite far behind, and he really gritted his way back into to be joint first place, to even be in the position to maybe win it, but then to lose it anyway.
Yeah.
Oh, it must have been a hard one, that. Credit to him, he took the loss like a winner.
Yeah.
He really did. It was like very like gracious in defeat, and then their team just decided to make complaints, McLaren. So
Mercedes,
those guys.
He does seem like quite a nice guy, Hamilton.
I like him.
Yeah.
I hate to say it, but I think there are some people that are a bit racist towards him. I hate to say it, but it just sometimes there's inexplicable hatred towards him, and then a lot of people use the fact that he's dodged tax as a reason to hate him.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of other people that dodge tax where people seemingly don't hate him as much. So Hamilton is one of those, like, you either love him or hate him. Basically, if you're a racist, you're going to hate him. If you're not racist, you're going to love him. And you don't.
Oh dear, what does it say about me then?
Nobody. What, are you a racist?
Well,
what do you mean?
I'm not a massive fan of Lewis Hamilton.
Oh, right.
But only because he's a serial winner, and I find it boring. I feel it's like
just
Man
out of
City.
boredom.
It's like Man City. If you weren't really interested in football and you saw that Man City win the league every year or something, or Barcelona win the Spanish league or something like that, eventually you think, I don't want him to win anymore.
It's only because you're a neutral and you don't really care about F1.
Yeah, exactly. And then when a young challenger comes through and beats him in such circumstances, I'm thinking, great, I'm glad Lewis Hamilton.
But he is from Holland. He's a Brit. We should be getting behind him.
Yeah, I mean, I probably would have been behind him when he was young and like breaking through. But
he's such an anti-glory.
I know, yeah. I find it boring when the same guy wins all the time. There's a couple of news articles which grabbed my attention over the last couple of weeks. I'll just run through them very quickly. One of them took place in a courtroom. Two legal people, lawyers, solicitors, barristers, whatever, were doing some discussion about the case.
Was one of them, did they have a filter on as a potato?
No, this is in person in the same room. And one of them was farting constantly. And the other one said, listen, mate, like, you're gonna have to stop farting. It's disgusting. You're putting me off my work. I can't work with you constantly farting. And so the guy that was farting,
was it the noise that was putting him off, or the smell?
I think it was the smell.
That's even better.
It could have been a mixture of both, but in the end, the guy that was farting sued the other solicitor for defamation or slander or something, and he lost his case. So the guy that accused the guy and told him to stop farting won the court case, as though he's got a legal right to request somebody to stop farting. Yeah.
Stop farting. I admire the audacity of the farter.
Yeah, to take him to court.
Yeah,
he was saying it completely undermined him, and he felt like he was lost his dignity a little bit in the courtroom.
What is wrong with you? Like, it's a bodily function. It's a human bodily function.
Yeah, but I think he was farting excessively, and in this court case, he did say that he was taking heart medication, which had a side effect of flatulence.
Right.
So he was saying there's a medical reason why he was farting so much.
Oh, he's got the halo effect there. That's a guaranteed win.
Yeah, but he lost. It was the guy that told him to stop farting that won the court case.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I mixed that up. Yeah.
So
shit.
He's got a legal right. Anyone's got a legal right now to tell somebody to stop farting.
Precedence has been
set.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah.
The fart precedence. Jesus.
And then the other story I saw was in Bolton. Two lads, I don't know how they came about this, but they had somebody else's bank card or bank details, and they purchased some.
Happens a lot in Bolton.
Yeah, like dark net, like buying people's bank details or something. So they purchased some lottery tickets, and they actually won 4 million on the lottery.
I think I saw this.
So they won 4 million, and then when they went to go and claim it, that for some reason, I've never won the lottery, so I don't know how it works, but they had to provide their bank details for the money to be paid into. Neither of them, being absolute scally chavs, actually have a bank account. Either they don't have a bank account or they were not prepared to give the details of their actual bank account.
Right.
They were unable to provide bank details, and as a result, this suspicious behaviour was referred to the police, who then carried out an investigation, identified the person whose bank card was stolen, and informed them and said, somebody who stole your bank card has just used your money to buy the lottery and won 4 million. And then the National Lottery awarded the 4 million pounds
oh my God.
to the person whose
That is
bank
so
account
good.
was stolen. Yeah.
Can you imagine? That would be so good.
We've got
Was
some
it like 4
bad
million?
news and some good news. Okay, what's the bad news? Somebody's stolen your bank card details. Right, so what's the good news?
They spent £2 on a lottery ticket.
Yeah, and you now 4 million pounds richer.
Oh my God. That's amazing.
Yeah. So I might just start posting my bank account details all over the internet.
You could just buy a lottery ticket. No, it doesn't work like that,
No.
does it, though?
You're never going to win
doesn't
like
work.
that.
Yeah, fate loves irony, man. There's a couple of little...
Do you mind if I open my White Claw while you're...
Mate, white claw yourself up. So, North Korea banned laughing for a whole week.
Does anyone laugh in North Korea anyway?
I mean, it's a good point. North Korea banned the very infrequent laughs that were happening
Yeah, okay.
to happen. And it was to commiserate Kim Jong II's death. Not to
right.
commiserate,
Oh,
to like, whatever, to
mark
mourn it. Yeah. A whole week of not laughing. Even in North Korea, that must be quite difficult.
I mean, surely you can laugh in your own home, like secretly.
I mean, I do wonder how they could police that.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Surveillance, like radars outside everyone's home. Bursting through the door if you laugh.
But North Korea are renowned for their, shall we say, flagrant ways of punishing people. In the extreme, they literally fire torpedoes at people to kill them as a death punishment, which... As much as I'm not a fan of the death penalty personally, if you're going to do it,
you might as well
do it like that.
Do you know if anyone was caught laughing then?
I don't know. The article didn't go into that.
Can you
length of
imagine,
detail,
like, thinking, oh my God, this is the best way to get rid of all my enemies, just go around tickling everyone you hate. He's laughed.
Oh my God. Right, we have to make sure we don't put the Electric Honk podcast on this week.
Yeah, because you have to laugh at that.
Put the footage up for YouTube here, but there was a ride in Germany, and you know those rides that sort of spin around? It was like a windmill, so it was like a windmill ride.
Yeah.
And at the end of each like spoke of the 4 spokes was another 4 spokes.
Okay.
But the 4 spokes on each of the windmill were swastika shaped, and it was in Germany.
Oh dear.
And the TikTok that I saw of this was like, you had one job.
Yeah.
Did you see the Sports Personality of the Year happened this week?
I saw some headlines that it was happening. I didn't realise it had already happened. And I don't even know who the main contenders were, to be honest.
Yeah, I think it was like... so Emma Raducanu.
Oh, yeah.
She won it.
She won it, yeah.
Yeah, because she's 18, 19 years old, won the American Open.
Yeah.
Did pretty well in Wimbledon.
Yeah.
Bright future. The future of British tennis,
Yeah.
without doubt. People are really getting behind her. And she actually, because I think she's born to a Chinese mother, possibly, but she's got Chinese heritage. She's got like...
Diplomatic ties to China as well, and Russia.
I don't know if she's like an embassy employee or something like that, but it's just really good. Anyway, so she was a contender. There was Tyson Fury, who threatened to sue them if they used his name and all the rest of it. He just didn't want to be Sports Personality of the Year. His rationale was, people already know that I'm the best sportsman. And there was a few others. I think Tom Daley, the diver, as well. Michael Owen, who was... He put a tweet out.
I've seen this, yeah.
He put a tweet out congratulating her, and instead of putting a picture of her or whatever, he put a picture of himself winning it 20 years ago.
Yeah.
So, which in itself is kind of funny, but it's kind of what you expect from Michael Owen. I don't like the guy at all.
He is awful, isn't he?
He is terrible. He's stealing a living as a presenter, much like myself on this podcast. But he's terrible commentator. Some of the quotes that he's come up with is just
he is the worst sort of public figure since he retired from football.
And he's tone deaf, like seriously tone deaf.
Yeah.
So, but I loved the way the British public responded to this. Did you see this?
Saw some of them, yeah.
So people started putting pictures up of sort of congratulating Emma Raducanu and putting random things.
Yeah.
So one guy was like, congratulations, Emma Raducanu. Here's a picture of me as a baby.
Yeah.
Another guy was like, congratulations, here's a picture of my washing machine.
Yeah. And they're sort of like really miserable achievements as well. Like, here's my level 1 cooking class certificate or something. What is Michael Owen thinking? Like, reflecting the glory onto himself from 20 years ago because somebody else has won it. Is he going to do that every year or something?
There must have been
it's crazy.
a point where he looked at that and thought, I probably shouldn't do this. But then in his head, he had the argument and went, nah, I'll just do it.
Yeah. Did you ever see the advert for Dubai that he did as well?
I think I did, yeah. Was he flying
yeah,
in a plane
he's flying
or something?
in a plane, and his monotone voice is like, we are flying to Dubai. Look at the magical golf courses.
Yeah, I remember it. He's
So
just
bad.
like fast becoming a meme.
Yeah, he really is, yeah.
So,
I saw your tweet about sexual assault in the metaverse, but I didn't look into it because I had a feeling you were going to talk about it.
so I've got a pretty significant following on Twitter. 563 followers. I know, yeah. But yeah, you're right to be amazed.
I am amazed, yeah.
And I tweeted out about a TikTok video that I saw. And the TikTok video was just a lady who's clearly just trying to stir up some drama. And the start of the TikTok was, we need to talk about sexual assault in the metaverse. But then the response was somebody else going, no, shut the fuck up. What are you talking about? We don't need to talk about this. But it did get me thinking, if you're like some sort of wacky avatar in the metaverse and there's another wacky avatar, how seriously can you take a sexual assault situation? When it could be like, let's say, for instance, it could be I don't know, like an eggplant molesting a raccoon. How seriously can you take that?
Yeah, I guess you've got to look at any context in it. I don't know. I don't know.
You don't even know where to start with this one, do you?
I didn't. Is the metaverse actually up and running yet? Like, does it exist yet? Or
I think bits of metaverses or metaversi or metavi. Yeah, I think there's some. I think eventually, like the internet, there'll be one metaverse that exists, or maybe they'll pipe into each other or whatever. But at the moment, there isn't like one accepted metaverse.
So when this woman that went on TikTok and said we need to talk about sexual assault in the metaverse, is she talking hypothetically then? She's not experienced it herself.
I think so. If there's actual sexual assault going on in the online, this is the thing. It's not just the metaverse. It's just online sexual assault, isn't it? If she's talking serious, you wouldn't niche it down or niche as the Americans say. It really annoys me that.
Yeah.
You wouldn't niche it down to just the metaverse. It's just online sexual abuse, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And that's a valid argument to have.
Yeah.
But she's framed it as being a metaverse thing to try and get clout and views.
Yeah, and get people talking on podcasts and stuff. And
come across as arrogant and annoying, to be honest.
I guess there must be situations in the metaverse where idiots are going to go on there with their avatar, looks nothing like them, they've got a fake name, blah, 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 so they feel like they're empowered to do whatever they want.
Anonymous.
And they're going to find female like icons or influencers who do put their life out there in the metaverse, and they're going to send them messages going like, I'm going to effing rape you, and, you know, I know where you live, and, you know, there probably is going to be a lot of sexual.
Yeah, I don't doubt that it's going to happen.
Abuse.
I think my point is, why is this a thing that we now need to talk about as opposed to just it being trolls in any format?
Yeah. The simple solution for me is don't allow anonymous accounts on the internet.
There's an argument for anonymity. I can't even say it. Anonymity. The white claw's kicking in.
Yeah.
Even though I've not opened it. Just looking at this is making me drunk.
I can't think of a strong enough reason for it to not happen. Like, every account should be linked to a person clearly, and that person is responsible for any of the tweets that come out. So you could still have like company accounts like Tesco or Amazon, or, you know, people tweeting out on behalf of their account, but whoever tweets it goes to that person responsible for the account. So there's no hiding.
The problem is, like, verification of an account relies on somebody having an email address at the moment.
Yeah.
And that's all you need. And unless you get the email providers getting ID, certified ID that have proper checks, and you only have one of them, and you link that ID to it, and then you accept as part of those terms and conditions that if there's a crime that's been committed, those ID credentials can be passed to relevant authorities in relation to crimes. You've got to go back to like the start of it, which is the email setup, rather than going to the resulting things of it, like saying like someone's got a Facebook account or a Twitter account or a Metaverse account or whatever. Yeah,
I think if you have to enter, like, we don't have ID cards in England yet, but you got passport number or driver license number, any sort of official documentation, you should have to link that to your social media account. I think if that account then does start spewing out a load of racist or sexual abuse or insults, then it can be quite easily linked back to you.
I think I'm all for that. I don't mind with stuff like that when it clearly has a lot more benefits than drawbacks. As long as that's not then abused by the data providers, then personally I'm okay with that.
I actually think as well that it would make social media a lot of a nicer place to be, because a lot of Twitter accounts are anonymous and people just going, shut the fuck up, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, racist, homophobic, bullshit.
And actually, if they knew that it linked back to them, they probably would definitely think twice about saying it, probably wouldn't post it, and the whole argument would be a lot nicer than it currently is. And I can't really think of any reason for it to not happen.
I saw something earlier on in the year where a guy was being sort of like pretty overtly racist, but he had on his profile his full name and his job title and his company. Yeah. And within a week, the guy was sacked.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, if you've got such a low IQ that you're going to A, put that on your profile, but B, then be racist and allow that to happen, you really deserve it.
Yeah, I think it make the whole online experience for everybody a better place. And also, just before we move on, I know that the algorithms for Facebook and probably all the other social media as well, they feed on the anger sort of emotion more than the pleasure emotion. You're more likely to respond to things that make you angry than things that make you smile, and therefore it just kind of becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy where people just go on social media, get angry, start typing things that they would never say in public.
Things rarely go viral because they are cute or because they are wholesome. It's normally because they're dumb, stupid,
divisive.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you got an Ashes update for us, have you?
Yeah, although did you want to tell us about gay Santa in Norway, speaking of divisive subjects?
Yes, that was the link that we was going to go. Yeah, so there was
slightly less of a link to the Ashes, so we'll go on to gay Santa.
I'm sure we can find a link. Santa Claus could be gay. Did you know that?
I mean, I've seen Santa a few times, and I've often wondered. Yeah.
Right. Okay. What is it? The way he eats his cookies or something, or
hanging around little kids.
Why does that make him gay?
But it just made me question.
So I thought this is a brilliant story. Norway, and I think it's one of the public organisations of Norway, launched a 4-minute advert, and it was quite a wholesome advert whereby there was this moment where somebody was wishing to get with someone. It was a gay guy, and Santa comes down the chimney and all the rest of it, and it's basically the implication is Santa is gay, and it was really quite divisive in Norway, but I think it was a really bold thing for them to do. I think it was a brilliant bold thing for them to do. I suppose there's two arguments to this, isn't there? First of all, we've all assumed that Santa is straight, probably, because we've always had Mrs. Claus, right? Mrs.
Claus, yeah.
So
Mrs. White Claus.
Mrs. White Claus. Are we skirting the line now between like people's legitimate feelings and thoughts, and really important that people can feel empowered to be who they want to be empowered to, like who they want to like, live the life they want to live, make the choices they want to make, but then that's a very thin line between that for the genuineness, but then other people that are just really some people just looking for attention. And I include people that are getting offended by stuff they necessarily shouldn't be getting offended by, but people that want to cause drama by the whole affair as well. We're talking about wokeness here.
Yeah, I can totally imagine that there are people out there that would have said in the past, why does Santa Claus automatically have to be straight? He could have easily been gay. And we're talking about like a semi-fictional character.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the irony of it all, isn't it? It's like no one's offended by that.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think it's good that they've put such a popularized, accepted figure to put that question out there. I think that's a really smart thing to do.
Yeah. What we need is like a Christmas film, but in sort of like Brokeback Mountain style.
Brokeback Mountain.
Some intimate scenes.
But how far do you take it? What about...
All the way.
What about the reindeer? Where'd you draw the line?
Are we talking about Santa and the reindeer, or is the reindeer gay for other reindeer?
Well, the reindeer could be gay for the other reindeer.
Yeah.
But Santa could be gay for the reindeer too.
Ooh, is it gay?
We're getting a bit too woke here, aren't we? We're getting a bit. But we saw some data that suggested, and it was in response to the Santa advert, which personally I think it's brilliant.
And it was UK response, wasn't it?
Was it UK?
Well, it was YouGov, which is UK survey, but I don't know.
Big survey, and it basically polled what they thought, whether or not Santa should be gay or could be gay or something along the lines of that. And the data suggested that the younger people were in the demographic of those that responded, the more accepting they were.
Far more accepting. Yeah.
Of
Santa
that.
being gay.
Well, not just Santa being gay, but of gay people and people's pro-choice and all the rest of it. So I think that's wholesome. That gives me hope because I feel like some of the hatred that comes with if somebody chooses to have a thought like that, I don't really give a fuck, right? But if they've got the thoughts and they keep it to themselves, have your opinion, fine. I don't really care. I don't think anyone who is gay or transgender or whatever is going to be offended if you keep it to yourself.
Yeah.
The moment that it manifests itself as some sort of hatred, that's when it becomes a problem for people and society.
And you have to find as well that the hatred is the louder voice than the people that support it. When you go online, if you went on that Santa video and read the comments, the people that hate it are the ones more likely to respond, and the people that like it maybe just smiled. And
just
went,
smile,
cool.
and add a wholesome moment to themselves.
They don't put a massive like caps letters comment saying, "This is the greatest thing I've ever seen. Thank God for this video." Yeah, and you're more likely to get the hatred ones going, "This is an absolute disgrace. I can't believe this exists." Yeah. So I think from the results that we looked at, the younger generation that were massively in favour of it probably even outweigh the older generation who seemed slightly closer split. The people that hate it are louder, but probably outnumbered. But it doesn't feel outnumbered when you read the responses online.
Yeah. Interestingly, males seem to be more opposed to a gay Santa than females who are more accepting of a gay Santa. And I found that like an interesting stat. Maybe does that relate to women being a little bit more empathetic, or perhaps, empathetic it would be, wouldn't it, from equal rights from a gender point of view? Yeah,
they're probably looking for a gay best friend, aren't they, as well? And Santa ticks all the boxes. There's one thing I don't agree with Santa doing, though, and this makes me feel sick, is the fact that he'll come down your chimney. I mean... That's not on, is it?
Oh my God, the visions.
You don't want to see him doing that.
I thought these cookies weren't glazed.
Why is the fire going out?
For fuck's sake. Oh, it's not just Santa though, isn't it? No, we should be coming down the chimney.
No, it's not right.
I think we can all agree on that. What do you think of the White Claw, mate?
It tastes a lot less than I thought it was going to taste. I thought it was going to be a bit
tastes
sweeter.
Less?
Yeah, it's tasteless almost.
Okay, well, it is made with basically just sparkling water.
Yeah, I thought it was going to be like, you got this big raspberry label on the front. I thought,
it's more a hint of raspberry, but I think that's the point. It's meant to be like a nondescript. This isn't for enjoying the beverage. This is for just getting drunk. but then that begs the question: why only 4.5%?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, whack it up a bit. No, it's all right.
Just want to point out, we do promote responsible drinking on this podcast.
Yeah. We just don't follow our own
advice.
Promotion.
Yeah.
Goose News headline: a goose is laying eggs with black yolks and nobody knows why. Experts are baffled at a goose in China laying eggs with a strange black yolk inside them. Of course it's in China. Photos and videos of the strange eggs have been doing the rounds on social media since they were posted last week. According to a man from Hangzhou City in China's Zhejiang province, the eggs came from a normal grey goose. The man claimed on Chinese social media site Weibo the goose eggs came from a friend's farm. He said that they'd been gifted eggs from this farm before and they'd been perfectly normal. However, when he cracked open these regular-looking goose eggs, the yolk came out dark grey, almost black, rather than yellow or orange. In the video, the man named Zhu explained that the egg had been laid by the same goose and that they looked and smelled normal. Neither he nor the goose's owner could explain what had turned the yolks black. As the images began to circulate, some people began to come up with theories, including that the goose may have eaten a lot of black mulberries with a high melanin content. But Zhu dismissed this theory, saying that these geese are all raised freely. When mulberries fall to the ground, they run to eat them. They contain melanin, so it may also be caused by eating too much mulberry, but this explanation is not particularly reasonable, so I'm not sure. In short, it is quite strange. Chinese media picked up the strange case of the black yolks and put them to a poultry expert who admitted that the only thing he could think of was environmental pollution had somehow affected the colour of the eggs. But he said even this explanation is tenuous, adding, scientifically speaking, such a phenomenon should not occur. Apparently, China's Academy of Agricultural Sciences are interested in getting involved, But for now, the mystery continues.
Interesting. Because I drink Guinness and red wine, and it makes my shit go a little bit darker. But it's very different to laying an egg, isn't it? Taking a shit.
Yeah, it's got a similarity, isn't it?
Has it?
What do you mean you're squeezing something out?
I suppose you digest the alcohol and it can get into your blood system. And get into the blood system,
Yeah.
it can get into a fetus.
Yeah.
So I suppose it carries.
Yeah. Would you eat a black egg? If you bought an egg and cracked it open into a pan and it ate the yolk,
Absolutely not.
would you not?
Not a chance. No. To me, that's just like, that is either off or it's diseased or
but they say it doesn't
virus.
smell or anything, just like a normal egg.
Yeah, but I wouldn't risk it. Not when there's such an easy alternative, just buy some other normal
Yeah.
goose eggs.
But yeah. Okay. So what if you had a neighbour who'd been giving you goose eggs regularly and they've always been fine, and then this one you crack open, it's black?
I'd report it to the Chinese media.
Of course you would. Yeah. There we are.
Oh, well, that was good.
Goose
Short and
news.
sweet.
Yeah.
So random. Is that a recent one?
That's like in the last week. That is.
Wow.
Yeah. That's fresh.
What would you do?
I'd be tempted to cook it and just try a little slice.
Try a little bit?
Yeah.
Would you
I'd
put
probably
some pepper on?
film it for TikTok. Get some
TikTok. Oh, hello.
get
Millions
of views. Yeah. That's what life's become, hasn't it? Am I doing something interesting? This needs to be shared on the internet.
Yeah. So also, we might as well mention this. It's come out that there's been more impressions on TikTok than on Google.
Yeah, more hits
This year.
wasn't it? Yeah.
I think the reason for that, with TikTok, you can log on and every single TikTok video has got a link to it. Even if you're doing it on the app, it's got a link, which is an impression, which is via the web, which counts as, just the same as using Google through an app.
Yeah.
It's, a video web page through the app. But you can log on to TikTok, and within even like a 10-minute period, you could have seen 50 different TikTok videos.
Yeah.
So it doesn't surprise me that the average links per user is like whatever, 20, 30, 50, whatever.
Yeah. Because if you Google something, you're only going to look at 2 or 3 links at the most, aren't you? Really,
Yeah, exactly.
Before you find what
And you find it, and then you log off. And Google's got a bit boring now, hasn't it?
Yeah. Not enough weird videos
Yeah.
for my liking. Not enough videos of people eating black yolk goose eggs.
Yeah. Sort it out.
That's where TikTok comes in. Pork scratchings.
Pork scratchings.
This is something that I've been wanting to delve into for quite a long time. I had a little bit of research in a few months ago, and I thought I need more on this.
Just want to say before we go into this, Salmon did say, I don't know what this is about. So This is as new to me as it is to the viewers on Audible, on Spotify, on Twitter, Twitch, if you're live now, YouTube, if you're watching. He did say this is going to last a while. So if you're uncomfortable, just
Go and stick the kettle on.
stick the kettle on, adjust your bollocks, and get comfy.
Maybe it won't take that long because I
Okay.
might rattle through it, but it's interesting. I'm going to start off with the history of names, surnames in particular.
Okay.
It was only after the Norman conquest in 1066 that people in England started to use surnames. So surnames were created to fit the person. They weren't hereditary at this point. So you'd have the son of your father. So the son of William becomes whatever, like John Williamson or something like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So you become the son of your father. Or it could be your occupation. So it could be carpenter, smith, tailor, something like that. Or it could be a character trait like long or,
Is that where long came from?
It could be, yeah. Or short.
Short?
Is
Oh, yeah.
another name
Okay.
as well. Sometimes it's a location like wood or marsh. And so eventually surnames became hereditary when it became apparent in those days that occupations quite often tended to stay in the family. So carpenter or something, your son would be a carpenter and then his son would be a carpenter. So then they decided to surnames would continue through the family, and that's how they kind of became hereditary.
That is interesting in itself.
Yeah. So many, many years later, something called nominative determinism has started to be researched.
So I was looking at goose puns earlier for this podcast,
Hmm.
and on the search history of your phone was nominative determinism.
Yeah.
I can't even say it.
Yeah.
And I just saw it and I thought, he's going to mention that on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I didn't question it.
Yeah. Okay. So nominative determinism is a theory that people tend to gravitate towards areas of work that fit their surnames. So the term was first used in the New Scientist magazine in 1994 after a funny article cited several studies which carried out by researchers with remarkably fitting surnames, an example of which was a book on polar explorations by Daniel Snowman. So this led to lighthearted speculation that some sort of psychological effect was at work. The theory is that people are drawn to professions that fit their name, believing that humans have an unconscious preference for things that they associate with themselves. So obviously, with me being salmon, like,
That's why you're
clearly
salmon
not a fish,
farmer.
but I'm not a salmon farmer or a great swimmer. However,
But you are smoked.
exactly. However, I do work with another salmon. There's a
Right.
salmon in my organisation, and she actually used to be a county level swimmer. So
Right.
that
Okay.
is an example of.
Well, that's quite tenuous. Like just the fact that salmons do swim doesn't mean that she's gravitated towards perfect. Like, you know.
Well, what they're saying is because you grow up with the surname Salmon, you have a subconscious bias to think I want to do something like swimming or
Right.
salmon farming or something like that.
Right. Okay.
I actually researched on the English Heritage website. You can research your surname, so I've done both of our surnames.
Okay. Interesting. Oh, okay. So this is no longer. This is like an interactive pork scratchings. I like it.
I'm going to come back to nominative determinism later, but I just thought I'd go into what the results were for both of our surnames.
Okay. I think I know mine, but
Oh, right. Okay. So salmon, it tells you where it's most commonly found in the UK. Most commonly found in Truro in Cornwall.
okay.
It said English/Jewish relationship name from the Old Testament name Solomon. This was the name of the biblical king Solomon, son of David and Bathsheba. Solomon is portrayed as great in wisdom, wealth, and power beyond any of the previous kings of
That is
Israel.
absolute bullshit. That's got nothing to do with you.
That's
you
a
are not
decent surname.
wisdom, power,
And
nothing.
wealth. But somebody many, many years ago from the first salmon from my line of family must have been wise, and it was given that surname. Hayhurst, most common in Blackburn. Do you want to tell me what you think it means?
I always assumed it was to do with farmers hursting hay. So transporting hay.
Is Hurst to transport? I didn't know that word.
Well, hearse is to like move body, like dead body, like a
Hearse,
is that a hearse?
like what funeral people.
Yeah. But
yeah.
they're not always direct spellings, are they?
No,
Sometimes,
yeah,
like
exactly.
Salmon and Solomon.
Yeah,
so
that's true. Yeah,
that's what I assumed, but
Okay.
I never looked into it.
right. So whereas mine was a relationship name from the term Solomon, yours is what they call a locative name based on a location.
Oh, okay.
So it's a locative name for a dweller by the high wood. So the Middle English language would have been hay, which means high, and hurst, meaning wood.
Highwood
Yeah. So somebody that lived by the high wood.
or Haywood, which is near Blackburn.
That's true. Yeah. That's a good point. Yeah. So Hayhurst would have been somebody who lived near a high up wood.
Wow. Okay.
So that's
nothing
interesting.
to do with wealth then.
No, unfortunately, some weirdo that lives up in the woods.
Dweller.
Yeah. Doesn't even have a job, just dwells up in the woods.
It was this little fucking creep in the woods. Oh man.
So I've done a list of the best examples of nominative determinism.
Okay.
Some great names in here. One of them
I've seen some of these. Some of them are fucking brilliant.
One of
Almost
them-
like beyond belief brilliant.
Yeah. Well, one of them I've made up and I've thrown it in there.
Right,
I want you
okay.
to tell me which one you think's made up. How many have I got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10,
Ooh.
11.
Enough to be statistically significant. Nice.
I've got 11.
I'd have been disappointed if you'd have thrown 3 at me.
So I've got 10 genuine ones and 1 fake one.
Okay.
Sarah Blizzard, weather presenter. Les McBurney, the firefighter. Dr. Will Welfare, who works for Public Health England.
Wait a minute. Wait. The Burns would have been just as funny, but McBurney sounds so much funny.
Les McBurney.
What was the third one?
Dr. Will Welfare, who works for Public Health England.
Right, okay.
Tom Kitchen, a chef. Richard Chop is a urologist who carries out vasectomies. Dick Chop.
That's I don't believe that you are big brain enough to have made that up. There's no way, no fucking way that's got to be
We'll
real.
see. Dr. Randall Toothacher. Guess what job she did?
Dentist.
Yes. Sue Yu, lawyer.
No,
Yeah.
that's the made up one.
Scott Speed, race car driver.
Right.
Jack Pot. Lottery
Pot is
winner.
not a surname.
It is.
Potts is.
Jackpot lottery winner.
That's not a profession.
Anna Smashnova, tennis player. And Frank Webb, who founded the British Tarantula Society.
Right, it's either the Smash Nova one that's fake or the one that I mentioned earlier, which I've forgotten.
The Sue Yu.
Sue you. But I'm going to
Or
go...
Jackpot or Anna Smashnova.
No, I'm going to go Sue you.
Sue you. Sue you is a genuine lawyer in America.
No.
Yeah.
No. So it's got to be the tarantula one, right?
Frank Webb.
Sorry, no.
Anna smashing over the tennis player.
Yeah.
No, it's Jackpot. Jackpot was made up. All the rest are real.
Brilliant.
And there's one funny one, which is the complete opposite of nominative determinism, and that is a police officer, PC Rob Banks.
Yeah, I've seen that one. Yeah.
And there's just one other thing I want to go into. People in the health industry have been looking to see if nominative determinism can affect people's health. So there's something called, I read it as bradycardia, but I think it's pronounced bradycardia.
Right. Okay. I'm not gonna split hairs.
It's a heart issue. Bradycardia. Okay. Research was conducted to see if people with the surname Brady have an increased prevalence of bradycardia or bradycardia. So what they did in Ireland is they contacted, which is Brady's a common surname in Ireland. They contacted everybody in a telephone directory with the surname Brady and asked if they had pacemakers fitted to treat or for bradycardia. What they found was within all of the Bradys, there was a 1.38% prevalence of pacemakers being fitted. And in all of the non-Bradys, it was a 0.6% prevalence.
I'm going to question this immediately.
Yeah.
The link could be that Bradys are liars.
It could be,
and that they're lying about having pacemakers. Okay.
Could be that.
That could be the link. And secondly, there could just be one quite early on, like ancestry-wise, Brady, that was just very unhealthy. And then his genes, carried forth, go forth and don't prosper.
Well, if that is the case, the summary that they came to was that patients named Brady are at an increased risk of needing a pacemaker
I can't
for
believe
bradycardia.
it. That's cause and effect gone mad, man.
That's
I don't believe that. I don't buy that.
So potential for nominative determinism to have an effect in the health industry.
In 200 years, they can't say anyone with the surname Hayhurst is more likely to be super intelligent just because they can be genetically linked to me. That's not how it works.
But if there was a IQ record of everybody in the past and they noticed that Hayhurst, all of the Hayhursts had a very high IQ and a Hayhurst was born, clearly somebody's going to say to him, there's a good chance that you're going to have a high IQ because your name's Hayhurst. There must be a reason for that. Even if it's not in your DNA, but genetically, non-genetically and subconsciously, you think, I'm a Hayhurst.
And they just
I need to have a high IQ. Yeah, exactly. I need to fit in with the other Hayhursts.
It fits. That was brilliant. That was probably my favourite one yet. That was absolutely brilliant.
Yeah.
It was worth the wait, that one. And you had a little game. You got some research in there and also a little game. Good effort.
Thanks. That was pork scratchings.
Right, Boxing Day footy is looking not in great shape. Yeah, this is playing havoc with my fantasy football.
I was supposed to be going away on Boxing Day, and now I'm not going away. I'm thinking what local games are on for me to go and watch boxing. I love a Boxing Day football match.
Oh man, I once watched Liverpool. It was one of the first Liverpool games I watched. In fact, it was the first Liverpool game I watched in the Cop.
Right.
And it was a winter's day. It was not snowing, but it was incredibly cold.
Nice.
And it was Boxing Day in the Cop, in the middle of the crowd, and it's so warm in the Cop. You are shoulder to shoulder, and people tend to stand up more in the Cop as well.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit more of an atmosphere and stuff. And it was probably my favourite experience at Anfield yet.
You just can't beat Boxing Day football, can you?
It's good. It is good.
And I'd love to go to a game, but it is starting to look now increasingly like just these matches are all falling like dominoes, aren't they?
Yeah.
COVID cases are starting to appear, and I think they've now also decided, at least in the Premier League, a sort of like cut-off point as to when they can actually call a game off. Whereas I think they were doing it on a case-by-case basis, and now they're saying if you reach X amount of COVID cases in your team, we'll call a game off.
Automatic. I feel like that could be abused. That they could just say, well.
Yeah, I wonder what checks they do. Yeah, because I know Chelsea have played loads of fixtures in a short period of time. They could easily just turn around and say, no, for COVID now. Can't play. We need a rest. So that's the unfortunate thing, is that this time of year is usually so good for football. It's really exciting. Loads of games on in a short space. Crowds are always full. I was hoping to get involved. But
one thing that disappoints me, and it's been talked about for quite a few years, is that the Premier League has a lot more games over the winter than any other league in Europe, at least.
Yeah.
And that's been cited as a potentially one of the reasons why the English football team hasn't done so well. Because there are more English players in the Premier League, of course, international English players. And the theory is that in the run-in to a World Cup or a Euro Championship, that there are players that are simply too tired because they've not had proper breaks.
Yeah.
So I wonder if, in a way, this might serve as being a bit of a test. If we end up winning the World Cup in, 2020? It's this year, isn't it, the World Cup? 2022?
Yeah, that's not this year. That's next year.
Well, all right, okay. This coming year.
Yeah.
Down our
Coming
chimney.
down your chimney, yeah.
So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see. If we win the World Cup, the theory stacks up.
Yeah, although I think Scotland have a winter break, so I don't see what they should be winning the World Cup, shouldn't they? If it's that simple.
Hoy and logs.
Yeah, hoy and logs.
As far as they can
That's a
throw
proper
them.
northern terminology, isn't it? Hoy and logs. Apart from the football, we've actually got Christmas and New Year's Eve coming up. Christmas is going to be quite small for me. Just me, girlfriend, little baby, and my mum.
Your mum's coming over, is she?
Yeah, because she's staying not far away, so she's going to come down for Christmas Day.
So we're coming to your house on New Year's Eve, aren't we? So
yeah,
me and my wife, 10 years together, we're supposed to be going over to France for 3 days. Obviously, UK has been... Essentially, there's been a travel ban for people coming into France, down the chimney in France, so we can't go. There's one other quite serious bit of news, and I feel like we might as well end on a low.
Yeah, let's round off with something depressing.
Yeah, all right.
So it sounds like the Russians are getting closer and closer to starting a war. So they've obviously previously already what they call annexed Crimea. They're now loading up all of their army on the edge of Ukraine. Apparently they've got like proper trenches, proper like World War I style trenches built along the boundary of Ukraine.
I've not read that much into it.
Not only that, they've got a nice blend of like World War I trenches, but with like 21st century drones like flying over the top and things with like infrared and all this sort of stuff. And Russia are doing all that. And so the rest of the world, NATO essentially, are supplying Ukraine with latest technology defense equipment, and now Russia are trying to spin that to say, look at Ukraine, we're defending against all of this stockpiling of weapons.
Ukraine is not in NATO, so there's no obligation for NATO to protect Ukraine, but they are in Europe, so they are in Europe, aren't they?
Yeah.
So there's like a diplomatic obligation, or not obligation, but
concern.
Moral. Yeah. In general, if you get the former Soviet, current Russian state, if we allow a precedence to be set, which arguably we've already allowed because Crimea has been annexed and we've done nothing about it.
Yeah.
And in a way, if you're Russia right now, you're looking at that and sure, you're saying, well, Ukraine, many of them are historically Russian people anyway.
Yeah.
In terms of their culture and their language and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
We've annexed Crimea a couple of years ago. We've let things chill out for a few years.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we can get.
Take the next step.
But they've got off scot-free from that, pretty much. I mean, I know they got a few sanctions at the time, but...
Yeah, difficult, isn't it? Apparently, Putin met up with Joe Biden recently, and I can't remember what came out of it, but the overall impression was that Putin easily dominated those talks, and Biden came away smiling and, like, fairly happy with how things went.
Clueless.
Yeah, exactly. And, like, Putin's just, like, played him like a fiddle. The rumours are, or the suggestion is, that Vladimir Putin is trying to reunite all Russian-speaking countries that I guess were previously part of the USSR, and make them part of Russia again. So the first step is Ukraine, then after that, Lithuania, Latvia, Kazakhstan, sort of those little countries around there. Imagine if he starts doing that. Like,
I mean, that is World War III. By definition, it's World War III.
And they're very close with China, aren't they, Russia? Like, even though they're not formal allies, they are very sort of like politically tied and on the same page. So you are looking at Russia and China against
Europe and America.
Yeah, Europe and America.
It's insane. I mean, I think the chances of a World War III are now more likely than they've ever been. I don't know if any leader would ever have the balls to ever press the button on the nuclear pegs again, because it's like pretty much guaranteed mutual destruction.
Yeah.
And possibly the end of humanity. That's a real likely scenario.
Yeah.
So, but then, like, how far are they willing to push it to further power or territory or whatever else?
Yeah.
It's scary stuff.
And who are the bad guys at the end of the day? Because if the Russian-speaking residents of Kazakhstan, Lithuania, wherever, don't mind being reunited and repatriated as part of Russia, does that make the West the bad guys in terms of, like, we're starting a war against people that actually don't mind what's happening?
Are there other ways of doing that? You can do that through democracy and government, embassy and so on, as opposed to
military
lining up future and past tech on the borders. Here's the thing, right? We've got to trust our news because we don't really have a lot of alternatives. So we're fed whatever headlines we're fed, and chances are they're slightly biased, right? So from what I've picked up from that, and again, this could be biased, I'm just being purely open-minded here, it's leaned towards it saying like Russia are the aggravators in this situation, right?
Yeah.
Russia have lined up troops, and NATO are the ones that are responding to that by lining up troops, right? So there's this sort of face-off. But what if NATO were the ones that were there first, doing like exercises and so on and so forth? I guess the real question is, what is the intention?
Yeah.
If NATO are doing exercises to genuinely practice and deter Russia, that to me is a lot more benign than Russia, who have already annexed Crimea, lining up troops, making it look like they possibly might then annex Ukraine. Two very different situations.
You could argue that maybe, if you go into a little bit of conspiracy here, but what if like the West/NATO were trying to provoke Russia to respond? So by lining up all of their military on the border of Russia, prompting Putin to put a load of his military on the border and then spin it to say, look at Putin starting a war, he's the bad guy, no one can trust him.
Or it's like a red, what do they call it, a red flag or something? I think they call it a red flag.
False flag.
False flag, sorry. Yeah, so that was Pearl Harbor and arguably 9/11.
Yeah. Well, it's scary to think that so much progress has been made in terms of
world peace, progress for world peace.
I'm thinking progress towards the next war.
Right.
Like since we last spoke, the developments now are like so many military people on the border fighting, and
so it'd be interesting to see how that develops. We might not see it. We might just be blown into oblivion.
We've had a nice comment on this. Press the hat to finish, lads. This is depressing.
It's true. Okay. Well, all right. Well, feedback.
I'll let you touch my
penis.
Touch my button.
Touch my head. Right. Mate, end of a successful podcast.
Yeah.
Cheers, White Claw.
Cheers, White Claw.
Merry Christmas, guys. Thanks for watching.
Can you press my button?
I'll press your button. Happy Christmas.
Hey. Merry Christmas, everybody. No, you make me want to shout.